Very good afternoon to you here on Youth Empowerment Television Show. My name is Richmond Amofa Sapon, and we promised you that today being Tuesday, we are going to continue the series we're running with Mr. Ogo. And as usual, we are getting to understand African marriages and understanding it. Last week, we learned something very important on Thursday. And what we understood from the last interview was that dowries are different from the bride price. Dowries is what a woman actually brings to the marriage. I mean, what the family gives her when she's coming to the man's house, or as it were, entering into the marriage. And the bride price is what the man pays to the woman's family by way of demand from the family of the woman. Lots of questions that were coming, trending on social media from the same interview. I haven't told Mr. Ogo yet about it. Was a powerful statement he made that if a woman gives a man money, or if a woman, as it were, uses her money to cater or to sponsor a wedding or engagement or any type of marriage ceremony, the woman actually is a wife unto herself or married herself. And that brought a lot of conversation. In fact, if I look at my phone, lots and lots of conversations that came up. Now, this is a very important subject we are discussing. As young people, we need to understand that our African system, African beliefs, African practices is part of us. We do not have to borrow or take cultures that doesn't form part of our foundation as a youth. So it's important that we have this discussion. If you're watching us on Facebook, don't forget to share the link so that people can also get to watch the show. You can also click the like button, and also make sure that you drop your comment beneath the comment section. All you need to do is to also send us a text message or a WhatsApp message if you are watching us at home. Text message, WhatsApp message, it is 0548 503799 0548 503799. So this is what we are also going to do. If you're watching us outside Ghana, our sisters and brothers from Zimbabwe last time were enjoying a conversation with us. So we hope you join us today. From Ivory Coast, from Nigeria, from Gabon. All you need to do is to send add the country code to the number is 00233 5485 3799, or just say +233 548 503799. Now, 30 minutes into the show, we are going to open the phone lines so that he's also a very powerful counselor, teacher, author, so that you can also share your story. Mr. Ogochukwu, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, my brother. It's good to see you
again.
Good to see you.
I
almost forgot I was a panelist. I was listening to you and I forgot myself. Great information there.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Even before we started our show, I mean, lots of people are sending a message. This one, I think, is from Nigeria, +234. And it says that 9 show, and this is Mami General.
Wow.
Okay. All right, Mami General. Thank you so much for watching us. Okay. We were getting to understand something very interesting, that as young people we need to know that dowries are different from bride price.
Yes.
So is it the case that the dowry should be in the form of money always?
Not necessarily. I mean, because you see, this, by the way, a very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. And this thing started from the pre-colonial African society.
Okay.
And you remember that even from basic history, we got to understand that what we call money today really didn't exist back then. Okay, we had the cowries, and then we had, we did a lot of things through barter arrangements, what people call trade by barter or barter trade, depending on the jurisdiction that you belong to. And so it wasn't necessarily about money. It was about the things you're committing and what you're bringing to the table. Sometimes, and from even the pre-colonial African society, lists were given. They are just certain basic things that you're supposed to bring.
Okay.
And some of the times people wonder why they have to bring those things. But they are things that show that, number one, you're level-headed enough to take care of a woman. You understand, what it takes to be in a relationship, and the fact that the fact that you're bringing it shows that you understand the concept of the man being the provider.
Yeah.
You see, what a lot of Africans do not understand is that when you take the word husband just on the face of it, okay, as maybe an English word or something, it doesn't give you as much meaning as the kind of meaning you would have derived if you use that word in your local language. And I dare anyone to try it. When you pick the word that means husband from your local language, you discover that it covers far more, than what the normal
English transliteration would be.
Yes.
So meaning that you tend to understand the role and the meaning of a husband more if you tend to, if you want to, when you call it its actual name in your local dialect.
Absolutely.
It gives a meaning to who a husband is.
Absolutely. Number one, it identifies you as a man. Number two, it identifies you as provider. And then it also exposes some of the potentials that you carry by virtue of the fact that you are a man, like source, sustainer.
Yeah.
Because you are the one that has to continue the legacy, and by virtue of that, there's a certain level of responsibility and blessing that hangs upon your shoulder, which you need to bring to the table as the man of the house.
Wow.
Or the lord of this union.
Yes.
Okay. It's
that is why even in the Akan traditional setting in Ghana, they call it Mira, my lord.
And it doesn't mean that the woman is subservient, because it's a partnership. It's a partnership, and that is also the reason the dowry comes into play. The woman does not come into the marriage empty-handed. Never does. The man, the woman's family, to show their support and their blessing, and the fact that this woman, actually has inherited a certain level of trust and blessing and support from her family, receives the dowry and brings the dowry into the marriage. It could be land. It could be
land.
Yes, it could be land. It could be cooking utensils. It could be seed, for business. It could be an already existing business and all of that. And that is why also you would notice that in many African societies, you might not necessarily say that, the woman participates in sharing, the wealth of the family at the demise of the father or the head of the family, because in law we have two kinds of trust, as it were.
Yes.
We have the wills and we have the settlement.
Yes.
The will takes effect after the death of the maker, but settlement happens inter vivos. It happens while the person is still alive.
Yes.
So women enjoy settlement much more than the men, because they receive whatever it is that is meant to be bequeathed to them while the person making it is alive. See? And so when they say women have no inheritance, it's an erroneous statement that women don't have family inheritance in their where they come from. It's not true.
Really?
No, they are settled right from the they experience more of settlement than the will. And so people make the mistake of thinking that they never inherit anything. And that is also the reason any man that looks at his wife and says, what did you bring into the marriage, is making a grievous mistake, because whatever it is that she has brought in has given you leverage, give you peace, give you the fortitude to be able to forge ahead in life to do your job.
So it means that if a woman is not your peace, or she's not putting you in the right mindset, it doesn't give you a fertile ground as a man to push forward.
Whatever affects your joy and your peace will affect your productivity.
Yeah.
It's just very fundamental. And so when you walk into a relationship where you're not enjoying that peace and you're not enjoying that that joy, as it were, you will never be able to achieve anything. And the same goes for women. When you have a husband that is not supportive, a husband that is not interested in your well-being and in your welfare, a husband that does not give you joy and peace, your productivity is also affected.
I mean, knowing all of this thing about African marriages and all of that, what the nitty-gritties of it and all of it, yet there are divorces in African marriages. We are thinking, doing all of this thing and getting the family to endorse or sort of approve the man you are going to marry or the woman you are going, showing respect to your father, all of those things we learned the last week.
Yeah.
Why are they still divorced? Divorce is something bad, isn't it?
Divorce is a solution.
Divorce?
Divorce is a solution.
Divorce.
Yes, divorce.
Divorce is breaking marriage.
Yes, but divorce is a solution in the sense that it comes in as a final option when it is very, very clear that this relationship has broken down irretrievably, or the two have differences that they cannot reconcile. But even though divorce is a solution in the African society as well, it is one of the things that is very difficult to come to, because the family is already involved from day one. And remember, it is a union between the two families. And so what happens is that, you see, this family is world A and this other family is world B. But the moment that marriage happens, these two worlds come together to form one world.
Yes.
And that is why in certain cultures, you will even find out that if you and I are brothers and you marry from a certain family, I cannot go to that same family to marry.
Why is that so?
Because we have become one. Our blood have tied up.
That's spiritual, not physical.
Yeah, well, yes, but that is in certain cultures. There are some cultures that might not bother. Some cultures actually say, if you've gone there to marry and the woman is good, then we should go there. Exactly. Yeah. So even in my culture, there's a proverb that when a journey is good, we'll make it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it will now depend on how that culture sees things, and how they define some of these issues. But then once marriage happens, and this is the reason a lot of people are encouraged to engage their families, in situations like that. When there's a misunderstanding, first, there's this thing that we also learned from the Western ideology that once a man and a woman is married, the concept of privity of contract.
Yes.
Third parties should not come in,
yes.
But in the African society, when marriage is contracted, okay, you need third parties much more than you know.
Well, yes.
Yes, and in this case,
your so much active rules.
Yes, you need to be accountable to them. They need to guide you. They need to teach you, certain things that you may not have known as at the time you were getting married, and you need to continue to learn from them. And so even when there's a misunderstanding between the two, it is not just for the man and the woman to resolve. The moment they are unable to manage it, it is expected that the family comes in. And so the family of the couple, they don't fall into the category of third parties. They're actually part and parcel of whatever it is that is going on. And when they come in, they will definitely find a way to resolve it. Well, if it is offense, okay, how to manage it and bring healing to the relationship. But when they find out that it's in the best interest, and that is usually, like a worst case scenario. And some of the times what would actually bring it about is the fact that some abominable event has taken place.
Yes.
Abominable event that cannot be dealt with, whether spiritually, or physically. So in that situation, it is in the best interest of the families,
Yes.
that they allow the marriage to break. And when that breaking is happening, like in some cultures, you have to return the bride price, okay? And then there's also what we call the process of the breaking of the calabash, which means that this marriage, is now broken.
Yeah.
Yes. But even before they get there, they have to, ensure that a separation happens. So that this more like going back to school to learn what you need to learn while you also go through your healing process.
I want to understand this. So as Africans and as young people, when you meet a girl that you have the intention of marrying, there's usually counseling.
Yes.
But you made a statement that in African contracting marriage in African setting, the third party would have to be there and also be guiding, offering advice and all of that.
Yes.
Now, in the Christian or in the Western culture of marriage, you go through counseling, you go through a lot of classes and all of those things. With African marriage, it looks as if you have to enter it first before the third party now comes to, after you've contracted a marriage, before they come guiding you and all of that. Is there any counseling section on the African setting that seeks to advise both the man and the woman prior to they getting married?
In fact, you've asked a very, very important question, and I'll have you and our viewers know that when it comes to the African society,
yes,
counseling and preparation for marriage begins from day one that
Really?
the child is born. Yes. It begins from day one.
The one that the child is born between the two people when they are not yet married.
So from the day you are born,
or even before you get to the marital stage,
yes,
the counseling has started.
Yes. So that is why everything you are taught. You see, the family unit is very important to the African society and to the African, because it is out of the family that everyone emerges. Every business emerges from the family. Every warrior emerges from the family. Everything that you do emerges from the family. The family is the first place of mentorship for everybody. You know, the family is the first place of grooming. So whether it is in terms of your values, your culture, your spirituality, everything begins from the family. It is in a family that you and I are taught to be men, and women are taught to be women. So the girl child and the boy child education actually begins from the home. That is why some of the times, even till today, when there's a misunderstanding or when somebody behaves in a certain place, in a certain way, you hear people say, your upbringing is not good. So who is your mother? You hear questions like that, because there are some things they expect that you ought to have learned when you were growing up.
Sex?
Not just sex.
But sex is an integral part of marriage.
Yes.
The African setting frowns upon talking about giving sex education.
That is not true. That is not true. That is another erroneous thing. Some of the times I don't even know where it came from.
But certain African I mean, religion, the cultural practices, women, when they tend to be adolescent or they start menstruating, they are given egg to swallow without biting it. If you bite it, you have bitten your child. I mean, in the Akan or some Krobo traditional area, in certain places in Africa, you'd also have to be naked, perform some rites that you are an adolescent.
Yes, like the initiation into womanhood.
Yes, then afterwards, nobody sits you down and tell you that you need to look good for your husband anytime he's in the house. You need to be seductive. Don't wear sackcloth or whatever. Look good and all of that. At what point did they tell you that? Because your father and mother will tell you, go and sleep. You don't know this, you don't know that. Some of them are even banished when they try to have boyfriends, girlfriends, and stuff.
So one of the very terrible things that have happened to the African society is that the content, information, that is supposed to represent our heritage and the legacies that our ancestors handed over to us, were destroyed, stolen, and perverted, during slavery and colonization. And that is why a lot of Africans still do not appreciate what happened to us within that period.
The advent of colonialism.
And
before the start of it. How our culture sets in.
And even slavery, because slavery was the first perversion that happened. And then other things followed. Now, there's a difference between discussing something from an educative perspective and discussing it from a vulgar or a perverse perspective. The African was never afraid of discussing sex. Never afraid of discussing.
The adult African, yes, but the young African...
Teaching their children sex. They were never afraid to do that. They were never afraid to talk about sex. They were never afraid to talk about childbearing. They were never afraid to talk about erection.
Mr. Ogo, let our are you saying on record that if we have textbooks printed in schools where it teaches young people that one day when you are married, this is how to perform a doggy style. Our parents would be very cool to see something.
So this is the situation. When you say this is how to do doggy style, it depends on how you share it. There's a way you talk about it, and it is perverse. For instance, it's a contextual issue. When you and I watch wrestling, we see the ladies, you would have easily called them half naked had it not been for the sport.
Yes.
But if a woman were having this conversation and the woman dresses the same way and sits here, people are going to take offense. It's a contextual issue. And so these things were happening in our societies. The conversations were had. The conversations were had and had consistently.
Is there any records for that? Can you give specific examples?
So here's the thing. If you know, I mean, thankfully we have old people, that were around in what we would have called the pre-colonial Africa. And you can ask them. I have had the privilege of having conversations with some of these people, and they'll tell you. Now, that is also the reason we are making efforts to put some of these things down on paper so that we can remember. And if you follow the writings of people like Chancellor Williams, Sheikh Diop, Ivan Van Sertima, and all of that, they were able to pick up certain information, even from their generation, so that we can have documents and be proud of ourselves as Africans to say, there's information for us to follow, and these things were all vanishing. Now, there are some things. I mean, some people come, and when they are talking, I don't know if it's religion that brought it or the Western. I don't know where it came from. People are talking and they say, excuse me to say, penis. That kind of thing, as though it is a vulgar word.
Sorry, can I use the word penis?
Yeah, like it, as though it's a vulgar word.
Is it not?
Is it? How is it? It's part of your body.
Can you
in biology class, does the teacher say, excuse me, penis?
No.
Excuse me, vagina? No, they don't say that, because it is for education.
So is it not are we not supposed to blame this on on African parents or the elders of the African society who has taught the African child to be timid, not to ask questions? People, people are accusing Africans of very, 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 very timid people. They are always yes and massa and all of that.
There is nothing wrong with being polite. There is nothing wrong with being accessible. There's nothing wrong with being nice. We tend to define ourselves based on certain things that happen in other environments where we say, now this is the true meaning of freedom. I don't see how, looking into your parents' eyes, having arguments with them and then telling them to shut up or using the swear word on your parents, a sign of freedom. But remember that the African society, we were great men and women, bold, in every sense of the word. So I don't know where some of those things come from, but remember that in the African society, when the perversion began with colonialism and slavery and all of that, one of the things that the West and the Arabs achieved during enslavement was the emasculation of the African man.
Yeah.
And they did very terrible things to us. They did very terrible things to us. Yes. In Congo, for instance, there was a 14 or 7-year-old boy that was hung. Okay, because his father was unable to bring the quota that he was asked to bring in terms of harvest.
So the child, 7-year-old boy, had to be hanged.
Yes, as punishment for the father, and he watched while it was happening. You had situations where hands were cut off because they didn't meet the target, and so one of the things that they did was destroy whatever it is we held onto as our values. They called it evil. They called it wrong. They said that if you are practicing this, you are an infidel, you're going to hell, and that is why you qualified to be a slave. And so even our parents, there was this very interesting thing that a certain Professor Edwin Robinson said, that the Africans that were carried away as slaves, when they got there, because they were still interested in handing over information. So it's not just about what was written, but they were also very vocal in terms of sharing information, with their children through oral traditions. Now, what they did was separate the children from their parents. And so the children were growing somewhere else apart from the parents. And so they didn't have anyone to teach them. They didn't have anyone to give them the information that had to do with their ancestors and all of that. And so they accepted everything they were told. And you see those things repeating in our society, okay, where people teach you much more about the Bible and the Quran than they teach you about your culture and your ancestors, because they just tell you that your culture is evil. They tell you that your culture is irredeemable, that your culture involved a lot of bloodshed, but they forget to also mention that whatever it is that was happening in the African society at that time was generational, and so it wasn't just happening in Africa; it was happening in other places.
Really?
Yes. It was happening in other places.
The Western world.
Yes, even among the Jews, there was a place among the Jews called Gehenna. And what will usually happen there is that the kings of Israel go there to sacrifice their children, especially sons or boy children, to a god called Molech, the god of fire. It was a valley in Jerusalem.
But that's barbaric.
Well, it was a valley in Jerusalem, and that's one of the things they converted to mean hell in Christendom. Anybody that disagrees can do the search and find out. And so we are still victims of some of those things that happen, because the generation of parents right now, know very little or nothing. I mean, if you can imagine that a 60 to 70-year-old person does not know the difference between a bride price and dowry, it tells you how bad our situation was. Because it also means that his parents did not teach him. So how did you get married, and what was the circumstances and the events surrounding your marriage? These are all fundamental issues, you know, and so there has to be a rediscovery. There has to be a restoration of whatever it is that we're pursuing after, and the things that we need to know. You know, so those things, there's nothing perverse about talking. I mean, look into our proverbs. You will see that these words are there, and there is nothing perverse about it. It depends on how you use it and the intention that you have when you're communicating it.
Now, because we are still talking about African marriages and all of that, this question, I would want to find out. Polygamy. An African man who wants to marry more than one.
Yes.
I mean, the Western world sees this as an abomination. It's something that must not happen.
The Western world actually did not see it as an abomination until after the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, really?
Yes. So in feudal Europe, polygamy was not a big deal as well. Yes, polygamy was not a big deal, and even after the Industrial Revolution, even in what you would call the contemporary society, okay, you had those things still happening, and this is with profound respect to everybody that is watching. It's not intended to attack or any of those things, but you also had pastors
who were marrying more than one.
Oh, there was one that had 55 wives.
A pastor?
Yes. One had 44 wives.
I'm sorry, he's an African.
No, he's American.
Man of God.
Now, there's a difference between polygamy and promiscuity.
Okay.
Polygamy is not a sin. Okay, even when you look into the Bible, there is no part of the Bible that says that polygamy is a sin. There is none.
There's no part of the Bible that says smoking weed is a sin.
Well, so?
But smoking weed is a sin, is it not?
I don't know. I don't know that smoking weed is a sin. I don't know that smoking weed is a sin. I think the abuse of weed and the abuse of anything, that is why we also have what we call promiscuity.
Okay, let's have that clear dichotomy of the two.
Okay, so the you know, there's a slang you use for guys that are womanizers. You say the guys are randy.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you're playing randy, okay, that's promiscuity. When you're sleeping around, okay, without respect, even for yourself, that's promiscuity. You know, it's vulgar. It's immoral, depending on the culture that you're talking about. But polygamy, okay, is a man taking onto himself more than one wife. And the very interesting thing about polygamy in the African society is that the first woman that was married participates in the marriage of the second one.
How? Participates?
Yes.
She's already better. You are bringing.
No, she's not. No, she's not. You see, that's the problem.
But you're bringing confusion.
No, you're not.
In your marital.
No, you're not. No, you're not. There's not. It's not. Those things came into existence when the Western society, in trying to also, you know, disconnect the African society, okay, and puncture virtues of the family unit, began to mess with people's minds, and I call it indoctrination. Okay, that this is yours, why shouldn't you be this and be that and be that? And you know one very interesting thing, there are cultures in Europe where it actually became a law that a man must marry more than one.
Why?
Because there was man shortage.
Oh. So when it benefits them, yes.
Yes, because there was a lot of war, and men were the ones mainly going for wars, and so many of them do not return. And so they made laws that insisted that a man must marry more than one in order to grow society, population, balance, comfort for the women, companionship, preservation of family legacy. And so they made it a law in Europe. But this information, you know,
you don't find this.
Exactly. They don't talk about it. But these things existed. And as at the time of the Industrial Revolution, one of the issues of, you know, one man, one wife came into being by virtue of the fact that they wanted to measure population. They wanted to reduce population.
Okay.
And so they were like, you marry You don't have more than 2 children, preferably.
They even added that?
Yes, you don't have more than 2 children. And it is best if it is 1 boy and 1 girl. They found it a bit disturbing if you have 2 girls, because they say that, you know, the woman carries the womb of the nations, and so if you have more than 1 girl, it means that population will increase again.
Yeah.
Now, what a lot of people are not paying attention to is how many girls that would have been killed at birth because of that.
Did that really happen?
Yes, it did. It did.
These are serious allegations.
Oh, they're not allegations.
These are statements of fact.
Yes, anybody that wants to know a little more should go read the history of sustainable development. This phrase that is called sustainable
And these are
development.
white people that engage the
White folk.
So it's not as if our culture and our history is that barbaric. We practice some of these
In
things.
the African society, a child, whether male or female, is a blessing.
Yes.
And it's exciting
Yes.
to have more children,
Yes.
you know, and increase the population. That is actually proof that a man is a great man.
Even
the number of children you have.
Even the announcement that you're going to be a father, it's such a joy.
It's such a joy.
Yeah.
You know, and for those who would say, so if a man can marry more than 1 woman, then a woman should also be allowed to marry more than 1 man.
Yes, they said even in Liberia, so a time came women were marrying more than 1.
Still with the subject of procreation and increase and all of that, in South Africa, as I speak with you, a law has been passed that a woman can marry more than 1 man.
In South Africa?
Yes. In South Africa, so polyandry is not is not what do you call it? It's not abhorred in society.
Yeah.
You know, it was part of their culture. And so the question is, what is consistent with your culture?
Yeah.
And if you know that which is consistent with your culture, live by it, walk by it, reflect it. It's meant to be considered. But the other truth that we must pay attention to is that people are created with a will to do whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
Society has a conscience.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point here is there are some things that you cannot do when you are within this society. If you must do it, then you must find a society that accepts what you are doing. Today, in the US, in the UK, in Canada, as a parent, you flog your child, you will be arrested. It is abuse.
Yeah.
You and I, you know how we grew up.
Yeah.
And so today in the African society, spanking is one of the most beautiful aspects of child upbringing. Yes. You know, your children your parents don't spank you because they hate you. They spank you because they love you.
Yeah.
And they want you
Spare the role to spoil the child.
Exactly. You know, but it is abhorred in the American society, in the Canadian society. You can actually be locked up for it, imprisoned actually for it. Yes, and you can lose your children. They take the children from you.
Wow.
Yes. Now, if they are able to live based on those standards, such that if you really want to, you know, and there are so many parents that live in the US, African parents that live in the US and all these other places, they have sent their children down to Africa for upbringing, at least till they get to a certain age.
Yeah.
What is the reason? So that those things can be applied to them, those values. Okay. So if you don't want to spank your children, go to the US. If you live in the US and you know that spanking is necessary for the kids, bring them down here.
Wow.
So perhaps some of those practices should also be looked at from that perspective. And this is with profound respect to everyone.
Okay.
You know,
you're watching Youth Empowerment Television Show, an exclusive interview with Mr. Ogo. And we are discussing, I mean, what we started last week is a series, Understanding African Marriage and all of that. This one says that my name is George from Somenya. Please, I want to understand the proverb, when the journey is good, we make it again. I love this show. Okay, you want an explanation to that? What a wonderful way of empowering the youth. May God bless you. In fact, I'm very excited about this show. I wish all the youth should be educated more from this. This is from Zena. This one says that I'm Abdul Hamid, reaching you from Wa. I just want to say kudos to my brother and teacher, as well, I must confess he has really enlightened me so much today. This one says, hi, it's my first time watching. I'm Joshua, inside Drobo. Okay. And, all right, just oh, wow. Hey, This message, I don't know how I'm going to read it, but I think this person would need your number because he's going through some advice sort of that he needs from you. Now I want to move to my next subject.
Yes, sir.
African marriage, sex before marriage.
Okay.
Now, is this something that African setting allows and accepts so that you know your woman well before you go into the marriage?
Okay, so we first need to look at it from a cultural perspective.
Okay.
And when we speak of culture, I keep talking about the fact that it has to be looked at in context. Okay. What does your culture permit?
Yes.
Now, when I say that, a lot of people and like we always say, this is not an attack on religion or anything, but we use these things to bring out issues so that people can also learn. Okay, so I'd like to paint this scenario for you. Now, remember that we had already, said this before, that even when it comes to Christianity or religion, at all should not be involved, in issues of marriages because it is cultural. Now, what if I were to ask you, in answering your question, to ask you if Mary and Joseph were ever married?
I think the Bible used something like
she was betrothed.
Yes.
Beautiful. Now, to be betrothed to someone, okay, in certain cultures is a stage of marriage. And it will usually happen when they are much younger, not even ready to be married at that time. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, but both families come in and say, I want my family to unite with yours, and I want us to do it through our children. So this girl that has been born now is going to be married to my son, who is 5 years old, and they do something at that material time to establish the fact that this lady is going to be joined with this boy, when they grow up.
Okay.
Now that is the story about Mary and Joseph.
Oh.
Yes, but you notice one very interesting thing. The Bible now talks about Mary being conceived of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Or by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Now,
when that happened, Joseph found out and said one very interesting thing. He said, because I love her, I respect her, okay? So I'm gonna put her away at night so that nobody knows what happened.
Okay.
Because had they found out that she was pregnant by another man other than Joseph, she would have been stoned to death.
Oh, really?
That is the culture. And so the Bible also said that Joseph now had received a visit from the angel that told him, take in this woman because that which is in her womb, is divine. So bring her in. But you notice that the moment Joseph brought her in, it killed the matter permanently.
Yes.
It was never brought up again. So it tells you the power of being betrothed. It means, even though some people might refer to this as argument from silence, as one of my friends will always say, okay, because it never said specifically about it, trying to give it a rigid interpretation.
Yes.
The marriage never happened. We never saw any other kind of marriage. That was how they began to live together as husband and wife. Okay? And her pregnancy, as at the time when that ceremony had not been performed, quote and unquote, but just by virtue of the fact that she was betrothed to him, was enough. Meaning that on the face of it, they are qualified to have sex.
Yes.
So would that have been sex before marriage? I don't think so, because she had already been betrothed to him.
So in an in our modern day African setting, is it like when the man performs the knocking ceremony if you are not betrothed to the woman?
Yes. So there are certain cultures, the moment the introduction has been done, that first engagement and conversation between the families, they recognize you as part of this other person's family, and you can have sex, quote and unquote.
And if she gets pregnant, it's okay. Then they not knowing you, even though they may know, but you haven't come officially.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so when sex happens, and someone gets pregnant, they don't also regard it as he's your husband. Okay, there are some cultures like that, but there are other cultures that say until you have paid the bride price, until you have performed that ceremony, then you people should not engage in sex. These are all fundamental. So it's important to know what your culture says.
Okay.
There are certain other cultures where it is important to even prove that the woman, is able to give birth, and that the man is able to impregnate a woman. Some of the times we just leave it at the woman's side.
Yeah.
Okay. The woman is able to get pregnant, and the man is able to impregnate a woman before all.
So
this
men are
happens.
responsible for that.
Absolutely.
A woman can be fertile, but the man may be impotent.
Absolutely. And then there are other cultures where on the day of your marriage, after the ceremony has been performed, you and the man will go into the bedroom. While the event is still going on, and people are waiting for him to come out with a white cloth that is stained with blood.
Hey, no, I'm confused. That you are saying that at certain practices,
yes,
in an African setting,
yes,
whilst the engagement or the marriage ceremony is going on,
yes,
whilst everybody is sitting, they won't go home and come.
No, they are waiting.
They prepare a room with a bed sheet for you.
Yes.
Go and have sex.
Yes.
And when you come, the man must not just come alone. The man must come with a white bed sheet. The blood stain.
Yeah, a white cloth stained with blood.
To signify what?
That she was a virgin when you slept with her.
Oh, so virginity was a big deal then?
It was a big deal.
Is it a big deal now?
It is a big deal.
Now?
Yes, those cultures still exist.
Virginity?
Yes. Now, that's
so does it mean that if you meet a woman who is not a virgin, you don't pay the full bride price?
As a matter of fact, when that happens, you remember misrepresentation.
Yes.
Okay. When marriage happens through deceit.
Yes.
You don't file for a divorce. You file for an annulment.
Delete it.
Okay, so in this situation, it means that the marriage was contracted through deceit.
Hey, hold on. You are saying that when you notice a woman as of that setting is not a virgin, and you perform the ceremony and they say go and have sex and come back, and you realize that she's not a virgin by virtue of not finding that blood stain.
So it's a rebuttable presumption that a woman that is going to be married and all of that is a
Must
virgin.
be a virgin, yeah.
And in some situations they'll just ask you, have you been with a man before? Even your parents will ask you, because they know that if that man comes out of the room without a blood-stained cloth,
that's a disgrace.
Exactly. So they ask you from the very outset.
I love this African set.
They ask you from the get-go, are you? Did anything happen? This, that, or whatever?
Are you talking about old
it's
time?
still happening. Maybe there are some people whose culture it is, they might even phone in to
there are some men who don't want virgins to waste their time.
So don't marry one, I guess. I don't know what to say to you, but it's very, very important that you and you see that also shows you that this education used to happen in the African society.
Wow.
Yes. How do you approach that situation?
Yeah.
How do you deflower a woman and all of that? You learn those things. There are people that actually are engaged. Now you call them counselors, okay? That are engaged in speaking to the people. There are people that come to speak to the women. There are people that come to speak to the men. The moment you have been initiated into a certain level, there are certain information you qualify to have.
Yeah.
It's just like what we call PG now in movies.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you get to a certain age. There's a way you're taught this thing. You get to another stage. There's a way you're taught. These things were existing in our societies, and there are people whose assignment it is in the various clans and communities, and they still exist.
Wow.
Yes, you heard about the midwives.
Yes.
They've become very, very popular among the Ashantis and in the northern region.
Yeah.
They still exist. Those women were a powerful aspect of our society.
Yeah.
We seem to be taking a lot of things for granted instead of establishing a partnership between them and the orthodox medicine.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, we're saying that they actually do not even qualify to exist. But those women can look at you without the lady doing a test
and tell you're pregnant. Wow.
That's how amazing it is.
I keep hearing that, but is it really true? They can just look at a girl's physique and say you're pregnant.
And 95 to 97% of the time, they are right. They look at you, they check under your eye, they press you in certain areas, say you're pregnant. And some of the times, even the girl they are speaking to does not know.
Then women were living in dangerous times then. Hey, Your grandmother or your mother can look at you, and or your midwife in your area can look at you.
They are living in dangerous times.
Yeah, because wow, if you have just joined us, this is Youth Empowerment Television Show, your most authoritative youth analysis program. And as usual, we promise that we're going to be running a series with Mr. Ogochukwu, and we're understanding African marriages and all the issues that it comes with it. This one says that this program is so educative and revealing. We are learning a lot. Mutaka inside Tamale brings this one. Now on Facebook, Boy Nathan says that I love the education, and so that is it. At this point, we are going to open the phone line. Just about 5 minutes to open the phone lines. Then we wrap up. Then we can wrap up from here. This one says that my name is Alhassa from Tamale. I am an example of what your guest said. I lived with a lady for 1 year before her bride price. Up till now, no sex between us.
Do you know another thing that we
1 year?
Do you remember when we were having the COVID conversation? Remember when we were having the COVID conversation?
Yes.
One of the issues that I don't remember the question that you asked, but one of the issues that came up, is the fact that when this concept of living lovers, which is now happening in Africa, and then you even have some people now having the concept of civil partnership, where a man and a woman can live together, they're not married, Now, if anything happens to the girl while she's in your house, in certain cultures, let us assume, she dies.
Yeah, in the fancy land, you marry
You marry her in death.
Because the parents, nobody knows she's living with you.
Nobody gave the consent or the blessing for such an association to happen.
So it's very dangerous for men and women who are staying together when both parents are not aware.
Yes.
I'm going for a weekend, I'm living with him because we are in the same...
It is very dangerous. And the second dimension. You're in that kind of relationship and a child comes. Okay? Two things. The first one, there are certain cultures where that child is not yours.
No, I'm confused.
The child belongs to the family of the girl and will bear the name of the father of the girl.
No. So for example, I'm living with Chidi, and I get Chidi pregnant. Because I've not paid the bride price, I didn't perform any marital rites and all of that. If I impregnate her as punishment, they would give the culturally.
Wow.
It's not your child. And there are certain rituals and certain things you need to do.
Okay, we have a call on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, your name and where you're calling from, sir.
My name is Simon calling from Odumase Krebo.
All right, Simon, let's hear you. You're watching Youth Empowerment Television Show.
Yeah, your program is amazing, and thank you very much for this program.
Thank you.
You are learning much things about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
All right.
Thank you too. God bless you for calling us. So Chidi's child, which is my child, will bear her father's name.
You just give seed.
Free.
It's not free because you didn't do what you were meant to do before having her in that situation.
Wow.
And so it has consequences culturally. See, remember that we were discussing the other time, and it came out that as
okay, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon, I'm George.
George, you're live on Ghana's biggest TV station. Let's hear you.
Your guest is saying is true because in Akan, especially the Akan entirely.
Okay.
When you get pregnant with a lady without even doing the customer rights,
okay,
you have no right to name the child. It's the responsibility of the girl for me to name the child. So you perform the right. And
wow. So it's even in a Akan setting. Wow. You give that to the woman, you have not done the proper thing. The family takes.
We went there.
Okay. Thank you.
In the Akan culture as well, when you are in a relationship, it's a cohabitation and children are had and all of that. You're still not the man's child. You're still not the man's wife. And if anything happens to you, he's not permitted to participate in burying you.
Even though you have children, let's
even
say
though you have children,
4.
yes, the children will be his, but you are not his wife.
Hey. Wow. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. You're live on Pan African TV, sir.
Yeah, hi, afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing very well, sir. Let's hear you.
Yes, please. I'm calling from Bolga.
Okay, let's hear you all the way from Bolga.
I'm calling from Bolga.
Okay, let's hear you, sir.
I'm hearing your program. It's very exciting.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, we love you guys for sharing your views on how exciting you are on our show for today. Keep the calls coming. I'm sure we'll be giving some 10-5, but this is a very educative segment that we need to really understand. And this one says that, whoa, Richie, I beg.
Hello?
Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Your name and where you're calling from, sir?
Yeah, my name is Wulan. I'm calling from Yendi.
All right, how are the people in Yendi doing, sir?
They are doing well, sir.
All right, let's hear you. You're live on Pan African TV.
I just want to add to our mentor subject concern about the virginity.
Very well.
Such thing is common in Nigeria among houses, even Arabs.
Okay.
Arabs, if he happens to marry you and you are not a virgin, the marriage is going to be deleted.
Wow.
Houses too, when you're married, you have to go inside and come out with a white cloth.
Really?
To show that to show that you are a virgin. If you are not, this means that.
But I'm going to ask Mr. Ogochukwu, but this is unfair to the ladies who lost their virginity through rape or trying to explore to make their future husband enjoy a better.
That one they should be established before the marriage. And then
wow.
Now some people even deceive the parents by slaughtering fowls. Are you getting me?
Yeah, I'm getting you, sir.
Some people do it in a very smart way. Those who already entertain sex before marriage, they usually slaughter fowls to deceive the public that really the woman is.
Oh, so if the man loves the woman so much, he would look for a blood of a fowl.
Or if he's the one that deflowered her.
Oh, okay. Or if he's the one that did it before the marriage, he has to make sure he showcased that.
He showcased that, and then among houses too.
Wow. I mean, young people watching us, and like I always say, I mean, it's very much important that we abstain from sex. Yo, Charlie, you guys need to abstain from sex. Purity is possible. Sex can wait. Please abstain. Let's borrow this culture from that of our African foundation. It's very much important that we do that.
It is.
I'm getting scared.
No, there's nothing scary about it. You see, the whole thing is actually meant to make us proud, of who we are, where we come from, and understand that we also carry the responsibility of preserving the same legacy that was handed over to us.
Yeah.
And most importantly, the fact that our spirituality actually stems from our culture. The fact that, some of the things that we practice in religion, which is order and decorous behavior. Stand like this, sit like this, hold your hands like this when you're doing this and doing that. There are practices that actually invoke the blessing in our culture. There are things that you do and they will fundamentally expose you to goodwill and favor and blessing.
Wow. Time. Eboy Nathan on Facebook says, whoa, Richie, I beg, let this program continue. And that's his message on Facebook. Okay, so if I come to WhatsApp, you send me a very long message. I'm wondering how we are going to be able to read it. I'm very excited how people are so much following this particular program. Hi, I'm not to contribute but need help. I'm Elias from Kunda near Dambai. Can you please help? Okay, we'll give the number to you so that you speak to him. I like this program, very educative and understanding. IOB, okay. This one says, good afternoon, Prof. I am a Pan-Africanist and very proud to have you to help educate the youth what they don't know about their beliefs and culture. Thank you. This one says that, hi, I'm TC from Nigeria. This is my first time watching your program and I love it. Keep it up. Okay. This one says that this man is really good. He can actually enlighten me a whole day. It's my first time and I love the show. Okay. Wow. All right. This one says that, Richie, the way you're advising about sex, are you... Of course. I'm proud of myself. I think we should be wrapping up on this segment. We've learned a lot. I mean,
Wow.
we've learned a whole lot.
Wow.
What would be the summary of our discussion to the young people on African marriage?
Wow. The fact that, number one, our culture is not evil, the way it's been depicted to be. It's not backward, it's not savage, it's not barbaric.
Yeah.
Our culture actually holds for us, an exciting future, a certain destiny.
Yeah.
And it is something that we must pursue. And much as we cannot blame ourselves, quote and unquote, for not knowing, we have the opportunity to go and find out. So that I don't have to live like an Akan when I'm an Eve.
Okay.
And also, it helps us to understand the implications of being in a relationship or in a marriage with certain kinds of people.
Okay.
Because when you do, then you have the responsibility of getting to know these people. This concept of we love each other, we'll be able to manage, is a lie. Do you know, in concluding, that there are certain people, just the fact that they are royalty states immediately that there's an 80 to 90% chance of you being in a polygamous marriage. And so when you turn around and now say the man is cheating you, this is not what we planned for and all of that, there's a very important aspect of this person's life that you did not pay attention to,
Yes.
which is going to stand up tomorrow
Yes.
to speak against you.
Yes.
So when you're going into that relationship, it's not even about looking into the guy's eyes and saying, promise me you'll not take another wife.
Wow.
It's not beyond that. It's beyond that. It's beyond that. And so if you are not ready to walk that path, remember, love is not enough. Feelings come and go. We don't just get married based on these things. We get married based on the fact that you've come to understand that this person fits into your life and that you fit into his or hers.
Love and emotions are secondary matters. When you are married,
They're
you
not
need to
enough.
think
Yes.
about who fits into it.
Yes.
How your future and everything is going to work.
And so if you're a woman that has put your foot down and say, I will never be in a polygamous marriage, then you must be careful about hanging out with royalty.
Wow. we wish we would stay on and on and on and on.